Hello everyone, welcome back to A City Planner Plays City Builders, where we are playing cities, skylines, and building the city of Bluffside Crossing. I'm going to admit that I have had a tough time filming this episode. In this episode, my original intention was to kind of remedy some of the general issues throughout the city. I've recorded this episode 2 times, and what I found was that it just wasn't very interesting to watch, and it was very long. So I have captured these changes, and I've changed the focus of this episode. Today we are going to build out the bicycle network and the transit network, and really take a critical look at that. But I do want to go through some of the changes that I've made to the city real quick. So first, there was a request in the comments for accessible parking to be added to some of the shopping and office spaces that we just created. So I've added those stalls to Home Depot, Target, and the office center. And I do think that that's a good addition. It's certainly necessary. Moving along, I leveled out this bridge and added enough height to allow ships to pass underneath it. It was a little bit lower than this before, so was the pedestrian path, and that made it impossible for ships to actually traverse it. Oh, this is a little weird. I also improved this intersection. There's a lot of pedestrian traffic crossing, so I added a series of pedestrian overpasses. This was really getting bogged back, so this was a good improvement. Traffic was actually backing up all the way across the bridge. Here I've added a waste transfer facility and a power windmill. This remedies the trash collection problem that we were having. Over by the downtown area, I have added a couple of wastewater treatment plants and a solar updraft tower. This remedied the solar problem that the power problem and the water problems that we were having. And probably the most significant change was kind of changing the way that this facility operated. It was on the other side of the collector, and I've really reconfigured it to try to get some of that traffic out of the roundabout. And then finally, in the downtown area, I have reconfigured this intersection a little bit to improve traffic flow and get things moving in and out of the downtown. You might recall it kind of looped up before. Now it's coming down, and that the angles are better for traffic. So I want to take a look at our overall roadway network and plan out connections for transit and cyclists throughout the entire community. So let's zoom way out here for a minute, and I want to throw on an overlay that I created of the collector and arterial roadway networks. So all the roads in red are the arterials and green are the collector roads. And I think this is really helpful for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's showing really the backbone of our transportation system, and all of these roads, with the exception of the highways, are roads that should have or at least support public transit traversing through it. So all of the collectors that you see should be served by public transportation. So in the downtown area, the core industrial areas, and then some of the residential areas, these should all be areas that have transit service. The arterials can help get the buses to the collectors, but likely won't have very many stops on those particular roads, except for in the suburban areas, and that's pretty typical to what you would see. In fact, in the suburban areas, you might only have stops on the arterial roads, depending on what the land uses along the collectors look like. In many cases, your density won't be high enough. You'll have single-family homes abutting those collectors. So why don't we take a look at this map with the transit systems? So our existing transit network is abutting some of these collector roads, but nothing is really directly on it except for in the downtown area. And, you know, there are gaps in the network, and that might be something we want to remedy, make sure that we have collectors connecting the arterials and then get transit along those routes. So we're going to use our collector network as the way to kind of run our bus network. And then once we have that, in a future episode, we're gonna get some higher capacity transit than our buses to connect up major destinations. And that'll be another layer that we create in the future, major destinations such as our bus depot, our airport, our university, our shopping center, because we're gonna wanna link all of those areas up with high capacity transit, such as a subway. So another valuable thing that we're going to want to contemplate is our bike network. Right now, we don't really have much of a bike network, but we're going to want to at least, at the bare minimum, parallel those key collector and arterial roads with bicycle facilities. Depending on how long this episode runs, I might divide this in half and have an A and a B, but I want to make sure that we have provided an active transportation option for anyone that wishes to use their bicycle to get around rather than a car. And any connections that we have, we also want to make sure there are pedestrian connections available as well, particularly if we are running roads that don't have sidewalks. But now for the time being, I really want to contemplate our transit network. We have a lot going on here, and not all of it makes the most sense for the community. I want to simplify this network and really make it make a bit more sense. Right now, you'll see that there are routes, like that. I believe this route in red is actually the flyer going all the way over here to the university. That is not super effective to operate in the way that it's currently operating. So let's get that one fixed first. I kind of want to figure out why the route is taking this really long path to get to where it's going. So I think a big part of it is this might be the fastest looking path for the AI. To remedy that, I'm just going to add one stop on either side of the road to kind of force the path to come on the route that I would prefer it comes along. So let's eliminate that stop because I really would prefer that these line up. And I'm going to move these stops and find the best location for them. But for the time being, I've at least got them. And this might be a better spot because people will be able to walk to the tram line. And now this route makes a little bit more sense. It's shorter in duration. Looking on the university, this is really kind of a commuter bus. So I'm not, as long as we have stops at the core destinations, I'm pretty okay with the route that it's taking. So that one's good. So then we have this blue route, and it's doing a lot of stuff. Let's take a look at our bus lines. I think that we might have multiple with the same color. Okay, so this is the first one. Let's make this a dark blue. We'll make this one a lighter blue. And we'll make this one purple. Okay. And now I think it's a little easier to see what's going on. So this dark blue line is doing a lot of things. And you know, because this route's doing a lot of things, it's probably doing a lot of things fairly ineffectively. But it's not nearly as bad as this light blue line that for some reason feels the need to loop around and kind of have this crazy movement onto the highway and then off the highway. Interesting. So I think that it's having problems merging over and having enough time to switch. So to remedy that, I'm probably going to do, well, first of all, we can add stops to fix that. Ooh. Is this going to be an irredeemable route? I will admit to being a little bit confused with why it is feeling the need to kind of make this looping. Oh, I see it. I see it, I see it, I see it. A couple weird stops can really destroy that route. Okay. So now we're at least coming down through the industrial area. I don't think it makes a ton of sense to go over here, so I might actually have this route turn around in this area. I just need to figure out why it is. So I think this might be the roundabout logic, which might just mean that we need to keep it out of here if at all possible. So let's eliminate this stop over here and see what that does. Okay, that stop right there is the primary reason that we're seeing some of the wonkiness. Yeah, and that roundabout logic is challenging. So that is a setting that I have in Traffic Manager. So that might be something that we want to take a look at, but for the time being, I'm going to leave it as is. So we have that route coming over here. This route over here really is getting people to the downtown area and serving these collectors. This purple route, there is a lot of density here, so even though our road network is local, this does make a lot of sense to hit these pockets of density. Then we're going to want a route that travels along this collector road. And we might actually have parallel routes. So what I might do over here is, rather than going all the way to the transfer center, I might use this this stop over by the train depot as our transfer. And I'm going to space these out pretty significantly. People are willing to walk, and the density here is not all that high. I want to be thoughtful about where I'm placing the stops. There are going to be key areas where people can potentially interface with some of the other transit options that we have. So we want to be aware of that and really give that consideration. Okay, so I am again reluctant to use that roundabout because of the issues that I'm having with Traffic Manager, but also because I don't think that the route necessarily needs to go where any further down this collector. Okay, so let's take a look at the color of that line. Why don't we go with a yellow? Yellow line. Blue line. Why don't we make this the Skyline? Whoops, not saving the names for some reason. Magenta line. Okay. Now, where else are we not serving? So I think it might be nice to reuse this transfer area and have a shuttle pinging back and forth between another stop over here, using one of the roundabouts if it will allow, kind of going back and forth. This is a destination area, but there's a lot of pedestrian connectivity. No reason to increase transit all that much in this area. I do think that one thing I might do that someone recommended in the comments that I really thought was a good piece of feedback was to kind of loop this bus through this area. No reason not to. So give people an opportunity to come here and use it as a park and ride. So if you're going to Home Depot and you work there, you'll be able to get off the bus real close and walk directly to it. So that's a good change in my mind. But we have this stop here, these yellow line stops. Let's create another line that allows a transfer over here. And I think I will just bring that back over here, add another stop, and then just have it looping. Let's see, do we have a name for this district? I want to say that we do. Okay, so we will call this one the Sunnyside Flyer. Let's go back to it. So we don't really have any bus service going to our tourism district, but that's okay because we have tram. And at this point, I think that we're pretty well served except for this area over here. So again, why not make it a short trip? I think we're going to loop around so that we can pick people up at their homes. And then rather than traveling along the arterial, I think we're going to loop through this district, have a few stops, and then meet back up over here. So, and what do we call it? We'll make this one brown. See, can I get brown? Maybe if I go a little more orangey. There we go. Actually, dark, black. We'll make it the Oil Express. All right. So let's see how this looks. So one thing we might want to start thinking about now is whether all of our routes make the most sense in terms of the type of street that we're using. Could we convert some of these roads to be transit roads? You know, there's not a lot of traffic along here. That could be something that we could do if traffic became moderate, not overwhelming, but we wanted to speed up bus service. That might be something that we would want to take a look at. We are going to want to really pay attention to these routes and make sure that articulated buses aren't the best solution. For instance, the blue line, which is the route that kind of ping pongs back and forth between the downtown, the transit hub, and the commuter bus. I mean the commuter rail stop. That has a significant amount of traffic. In our magenta line, which is the one that's going to the downtown area. Between the two of those, that really is our bus service. Everything else is kind of, right now pretty lightly utilized. Although that Green Hill shuttle that we made, kind of ping ponging back and forth between the commuter rail and the park and ride, also has some very high utilization. The other thing that we're going to want to take a look at is the number of vehicles on some of these routes. It's the Hillcrest Flyer. That is a lot of buses to be using for this short duration, or this long duration, but short number of stops trip. So what I think we're going to do here is we're going to convert this to an articulated bus and take it down to something a little more rational. Maybe 3 buses. And then if it's successful, or if we see that there's a lot of backup at these stops, then we'll make adjustments. Now, there are a lot of students at the university trying to get to Bluffside Crossing from Hillcrest, but right now I don't think that it needs 55 buses. That's crazy. Okay, let's take a look. What else do we have? We have 20 buses on the yellow line. That might be excessive as well. Let's see where the yellow line goes. Yeah, that's that line going along this collector. We could probably get away with half of that, if not fewer. When we start with 8. In reality, this would you'd be looking at the frequency of the service when you're thinking about the number of buses that you have on there. I do see that there are a lot of passengers on some of these, so I might right away make this an articulated bus, a higher capacity bus, and reduce the number of buses out there. It's probably going to be a little bit more effective. So right away you can see that we can clear some of these stops by having the articulated bus serving. Oh, and it's pulling the buses from Hillcrest. I do not like that. Okay, so this is another thing to contemplate when you're putting down transit, and that is, where are the buses coming from? So we have one biofuel bus depot over there, and our other, I would have thought that it would have pulled from over here. Let's see how many buses are out at this. 55 buses. And at the, and at the Hillcrest facility, 45. So there might be some rationale to add another bus depot elsewhere, and maybe that elsewhere is actually in this area. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of good options over here without making some pretty significant modifications, which is something that I'm not all that interested in. That's pretty well established. So I might actually just put it down here. This is kind of where a number of routes meet up. This could cause some issues with the neighborhood, though. It's not all that compatible. Yeah, let's get that out of there. we can move it closer to this industrial district. That would probably be a more palatable solution for everyone involved. And the roundabouts here give us the ability to have the buses come out in different ways, so not a huge deal. So let's take one more look at our transit routes. And I'm definitely going to divide these episodes in half. So this will be episode 19A. Episode 19B, we will look at the bike network and try to make some key connections. At the end, I think we'll take a look at transit and see how things have changed. For the time being, though, I think I'm going to cut this off here. Thank you so much. I know that I've done this episode a little bit different than my other ones. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully if you like this video, please consider giving it a like. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you know as soon as I release new content. Thank you so much for joining me, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.